Hello, so it's been a while since I've done a computer video, but I do have the new Ryzen 3000 and here at the moment I have the 3800X on the Crosshair Hero 7, which you can see here, and it is water cooled with a 1080 radiator. In fact, I'll just unplug the fans for the video just so it's a bit quieter. So this is on the Crosshair Hero 7. The BIOS version is 2406 and the CPU is at 4.4 GHz. Memory is at 2133 because I've just had to reboot from cold, but you'll see why that is in a second. So we'll start off with temperatures. As you can see, I'm underwater and the idle temperature is 40 degrees. I did test this on air first, and on air the temperatures were actually very similar to water. So let me just go down to the voltages. So CPU voltage wise, I was running 1.325 volts, which would drop down to 1.26 under load for the V droop on air, and the temperature was 75.8 maximum. That was at 4.35 gigahertz. And then underwater I can go up to 1.375 volts, which under load is 1.3, just over 1.3, like 1.3, 1.31, and the temperatures get up to sort of the mid to high 70s again. The highest I've seen is about 78, and that is underwater. So unfortunately the temperature doesn't scale very well with the cooling. So obviously I'm using a 1080 rad and a decent bucket of water with some pond pumps in there, and I'm in the garage. So the water's pretty cold, but not much of the heat is getting transferred to the water by the water block. The die being so small, the heat density is really big, so the cooling doesn't actually impact the performance very much, which is why underwater I'm only able to get 4.4 gigahertz. Now memory wise, the Crosshair 6 and 7 at the moment have a really annoying problem, where if you try and boot anything above 2666 from cold, it basically doesn't boot, or it boots 2133 like it is now. And that's because it doesn't set the voltage, the initial RAM boot up voltage properly at first. So what I've done is I've created a bunch of profiles, so I can't even boot XMP. So I've got profile 1 here, which is 3200 auto, but what I do is I load that, boot 2666, and that's with all the timings on auto. Then I have to reboot back into the BIOS, load number 1, then load number 2, then load number 3, and then sometimes I can skip to number 5, or I can go from 3 to number 6, and then number 7, and then number 8. So basically I can run 37, 33. It says tight, but the timings aren't incredibly tight because my RAM kit's not that good. I'll show you the timings here. So we've got 12, 12, 12, 28, 48, 44, 24, 5, 10, 16, 4, 4, 280, and then just leave these on auto because that top one will set the other two below it alright normally. Then 12, 8, 8, then 2, 2, 1, 3, 3, 1, and then command rate of 1T obviously. Now if I change these down to 2, it becomes slightly unstable and scores lower, can pass SuperPi but gets a lower score. If I increase the frequency to 1800. It also it can't pass Super Pi, but it will boot into Windows. 3866 will boot and then blue screen basically. And the FCLK frequency is the Infinity Fabric frequency, and you want to keep this at half of the memory frequency, or 1-to-1 with the real memory frequency. If you leave it on auto, at 3200 this will be 1600, but as soon as you go above 3200 it halves it. So instead of like 1800 now, it'd be like 900, which gives you quite a big drop in performance in some benchmarks. Now the other thing is as well, if I just load profile 3 a second, at first this is what I was kind of running on air, so I was able to run 4.35 but 3200, and you can see that's still on auto, not 1600, because it sets itself alright at this stage. And timing wise, you can see I haven't bothered to set anything there, so I was actually doing 12, 11, 11, 11, but once I got past I think it was 3466, I had to drop these down to 12, but I was able to tighten all of the sub timings underneath. So yep, and that is again using 1.8 volts on the memory, which probably isn't needed, but it's BDI, so it can take it. It is needed at 3733 though. So if I load profile 8, that was the final profile that I used for any scores that I got underwater, and you'll be able to see those on HardwareBot. The air results, I think some of them were at 3600 or 3733 with the 12, 11, 11, but all of the sub timings were really loose, so these being 11 didn't really help. Other than that, the Crosshair 7 Hero runs the chip really well. There is a lot of V-droop, but what I would do is I would just set your core voltage without using the load line calibration, and CPU-Z, the latest version, measures the voltage correctly. I've checked it with a digital multimeter on the read points down here, so you can just check it with a multimeter when it's under load, and then you should be alright to run it on the Crosshair 7 Hero. So I have got a Crosshair 8 Hero, which is what I'm going to show you now, so we'll see how that does.